But welcome. This is Pantheon plus you, where we discuss the most recent dev stream in depth. Oh, why don't I have people?
We're in
Where
stealth
are
mode.
we? Yeah, we're stealth.
stealth.
There we go.
Stealth.
There we
we
go. All right.
I thought the dire had consumed us for a moment there.
It's not really a Pantheon plus you unless we have a little hitch at the beginning. So
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
here we go. We are running good. This is Pantheon plus you number 82. So we've made it through 82 of these, and we had a little raid by Redbeard Flynn to start the stream off.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Redbeard.
Red beard with the bringing the raid. I love it.
Very cool. And so this week, Therek, I have a little inside information.
Do you now?
I don't know if you knew that. I don't think it's really in our show notes. But Nathan really likes to play off like he likes the paladins, but I have some inside information about how he might just prefer the Dire Lord. So let's take a listen.
Not this time. This time I said I wanted to be Dire Lord. I'll say that. That's because hey, the Dire Lord's a fun class.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it sound to you like that might be his preferred class?
I wanted to know how long that was going to go on for. I thought maybe you made like a mixtape of like a minute of Nathan talking about his love of the Dire Lord. I was curious about that.
The Dire Lord is a fun class. And I will say this, I did pick the Dire Lord out of my options of tanks, which are Dire Lord.
Yeah, you picked the one option there is.
But I do like the Dire Lord. Dire Lord is cool. And it's gotten a lot better. So the stuff they talked about tonight, all those, there's been major changes to Dire Lord. It feels totally different than it did way back when I got to show it off in the we did the Castle Deviere. So
yeah, you have a good sense of this. I mean, I feel like this stream was really right up your alley. You have all the context from playing it early to still playing it now during pre-alpha and like the things that you've been doing, and like I feel like you're in a good position here to really give feedback on what we heard tonight, what they talked about, right?
Yeah, I really do. A couple things mainly was I just can't stress enough how powerful the Sanguine Shield is. Now it takes a lot of essence. They were talking about that. They gave the exact number. I don't know that kind of information, but you have to build up essence like they talked about. When you use Sanguine Shield though, man, you can soak up the damage. So if you're really smart, like if you're fighting a boss that does some kind of attack, and you can see it right there on the stream. It does a little loading bar in the game. And that's a big attack. You can pop that Sanguine Shield. Now, it's all about essence, though. It's all about like making sure you have enough to do backup things, right? So you could just spam Sanguine Shield as much as you could, but then you're not going to have any essence. So you're not going to be able to do any of the other things. Like some of the, I want to say things that they didn't talk about, and I can't. But we'll talk about it on the stream. We do Saturday.
We'll get to that on Saturday.
Because there's more. But if they didn't mention, I can't talk about it. But yeah, like there's a lot of strategy to it to play it well. And I'll say this about the Dire Lord: it's easy to play, hard to master. Right? It's one of those classes where anybody can pick it up and have a good time and be good enough, right, and get by. I feel like, but to be a really good Dire Lord and set yourself apart and get through things that probably shouldn't be possible, that's where the skill comes in. I love it. That's a good class when you can say that about it.
I think that saying that about anything is a really something I look for in games, actually. Simple to learn, tough to master, right? Like, because there's so much room for growth in your knowledge, and that's what keeps me playing a game is when I'm learning more and more and feel like I'm advancing, just even if my skills, like I'm not getting more and more skills, I may just be getting better at using the ones I have. One of the quotes from this stream that I wrote down when Minus was talking, I'll read it because it's exactly what you're saying. It's the choices of how and when to spend become increasingly important as you level, right? So figuring out, like you say, you can just spam Sanguine Shield, but you got to figure out that that's not the best effective way to do it. You got to figure out a way to balance that with how you're spending your essence, how you're using your readiness from your techniques, because that plays into this, right? So
yeah. And as you level up, it just gets more and more complex, right? As new abilities are added, you got limited action sets, so you've only got your 8 abilities you can throw out at any given time, and you mix that with, like they were talking about, the stances, different stances, and for different situations, and you kind of weave all these little. It's only 8 abilities and a few, things besides that, but you're weaving through different things depending on the flow of battle and your party members, right? Who's in the party and what can they do? So we'll get a lot into that because we've decided on the stream coming Saturday we've got a really cool balance of classes, and we're going to see some really cool like synergy going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to that. That's what it's all about here for me. That's what I'm here for. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, as the lone wizard and caster on the podcast, we have to get at least there was a little.
We talked
news.
about it.
There was a little wizard
in there.
So I don't believe on any stream or in any public information anywhere has they ever talked about Portal. And they talked about Portal on the stream tonight, so that is super exciting. And you're going to see a lot of portaling on Saturday. So just FYI, that is definitely going to be happening a lot. Because that skill is super fun, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So get ready for that. It may be to my group's detriment, but it's going to happen a lot.
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, as long as you use it for our benefit and not to our...
Oh, no.
No.
It's mostly going to be beating Therek to mining notes.
Oh, I'm on that sprint button like a master. You have no idea. I've learned how to get it right to the point before I become exhausted, and then I'm very good at it now.
Yes. Also, the one thing I did pay attention. I wasn't sleeping during the Dire Lord conversation, even though I've never played a Dire Lord and I never plan on playing a Dire Lord. But I thought a really cool piece of it was that intelligence seems to play a role in the stats, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing that I really hate in MMOs is where you just stack one stat and that's all you need. You never have to worry about anything else. There's never any choices with stats. You just get strength if you're a tank, or constitution if you're a tank, and intelligence if you're a wizard, and that's it. That's all you ever do. Right. Mm-hmm. But they're really seeming to be flushing out all the stats, making the stats, even intelligence for a Dire Lord is important. Because it's upping the amount of stuff your skill can do. So you could potentially make a more caster-based, more intelligence-based Dire Lord, more spellcasty, less I guess tanky, less hand-to-hand. I don't know.
I mean, that's interesting because they did a if you'll think back to August of 2022, they did some class updates back then. One of them was the Dire Lord. I actually went back while the stream was going on. I went back and looked at the video that we made about this because we did sort of a video of breaking down these updates, and that intelligence factoring into the Dire Lord's abilities was a theme that I really keyed in on then too. So it's not new, but they are continuing to lean into this. They showed, so on this stream we saw Devour Dexterity, which I thought it goes into their devouring line. Like they've got these devour attribute sort of spells. And the one that they did before in August, they talked about was Devour Constitution. So it's the same thing. Basically, based on your intelligence, it factors into, I think it's how much you absorb or how much you take, right? And I mean, I want to go back and actually look at that and compare it against what we saw tonight, because I want to see if they've sort of changed what it affects, how your intelligence is sort of affected, or what it does to the spell, because I think that's interesting. But you're right, Draq. Like, this intelligence stat for a tank is unusual, but it's something that they're definitely doing.
Yeah, I hope they lean into it a lot on all classes. So Nathan, Therek, do you guys have anything else you'd like to add about the stream?
I do want to add that they mentioned that there were no changes to the Enchanter that they wanted to talk about, and that's just because they saw it played to perfection recently, so they figured there was no need to change anything about the Enchanter class. And if you tune on Saturday, you're going to see it again. So just love the Enchanter as it is now, because it has been reached the point of they can't improve upon it anymore.
Okay, minus.
Man. I wish Random Rob was on the show, but I'll leave it at that.
Random Rob is. I can't deal with random chaos. All right, the Enchanter is not accounting for random chaos.
All right. Well, this is not just a show where we sit here and yap. This is a show about the community. And so I'm going to hit the little Discord link you need to make sure to join the Discord. You need to get in here and talk to us about the Dire Lord rework. What do you think? What did you think about the stream tonight? We want to hear your opinions. Also, what do you think about the stream upcoming on this weekend? Are there specific things you want to see? Get in here and let us know. Because we want to hear from the community, and I'm seeing devs right now type in the chat, so they want to hear what you guys think about what's going on with the Dire Lord and also what's going on with the stream this weekend. So jump in. The waters are good. Therek, you want to bring us first victim?
Yeah, absolutely. Our first victim. So I'm going to bring Desert in first because I saw he had a comment in chat. I want him to sort of update us on what I was talking about with the Dire Lord. I know, but you know what? It's he's got a lot to say. I know, so we're gonna bring him in first. So there he is. What's up, Des?
Oh, hey guys! What a surprise! You are spoiling me.
Our fellow streamer Desrin. For those of you that maybe don't know, Desrin will be playing the shaman, our healer, our only healer.
That's right.
We're running the one healer comp, so he'll be playing the shaman.
We're all about the deeps this time.
And you'll be streaming it too, right?
Yeah, I am going to be streaming it on my channel. I won't be monitoring chat. I'm going to be hanging out on the Pantheon Plus chat for the most part.
But that's another perspective, yeah.
Exactly. So anyone that wants to play a shaman, they'll be able to check the VOD. I mean, you will be able to watch it live, but you can always check the VOD, and we'll throw that up on the channel as well. More perspectives.
Channel there for you.
Oh, thanks, Draq.
So you were talking in chat about the Dire Lord, like I was talking about stealing intelligence. Do you want to just? Reiterate what you were saying?
That was just part of the Devour abilities. It seems like the general gist is the more intelligence that you have, the more of whatever stat you steal. So Devour Constitution, if you have high intelligence, you'll get more Constitution. Right. As well as whatever benefits intelligence gives Dire Lords. So
right. So good update on the Dire Lord tonight. What overall thoughts and your reactions, Desrin?
Mostly positive. It was kind of interesting to go through the class so detailed like this. Mm-hmm. I really liked it because I could imagine. Us, like, we might make a video or something about it and kind of break it down, compare it to the old, information we have. There's a lot of possibilities there that get my ticker ticking. But generally speaking, and I'm definitely biased because obviously we just played together. But I'm pretty happy with the Dire Lord. I think it's really cool. It's starting to shape up into something that it's supposed to be. My only thing though is I still feel like it for some reason, even Minus mentioned it, like getting dual wield is like a big deal because you gain a lot of essence, and I'm like, to me, I feel like it might not just be in the ability sets they listed. Maybe it comes later or something. Maybe you're meant to dual wield in the beginning and then move to two-handers. I don't know, but
are you a Dire Lord two-hander only guy?
Dude, one of my favorite classes is Dread Knight from Vanguard, and
I feel you on that. Oh, you're speaking.
They
got
that
now.
right, Mm-hmm. So more incentive to use a two-hander. That's what I want.
I'm in Ronick. Ronick was saying like he thinks the two hands just as good, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a little spoiler here. I'm a two-hand Dire Lord, so we'll see it in action on Saturday.
You throw down the gauntlet.
Class fantasy. It's a class fantasy for me, right? And to me, you're the evil tank, right? You're doing all these evil blood states and all this kind of stuff, and you're sucking the essence out of creatures, and it's a class fantasy to me that those kind of people, those kind of creatures that do these kind of things, they're two-hand wielders to me. They're not dual wielders to me. So.
Yep.
And I'm making a case for it. The two-hand is legit.
We'll see how it operates. You have to prove yourself.
Yep.
So Mastery System talk next week.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of exciting? We haven't heard about Masteries in
been a long time.
A while.
Been quite a long time, yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see where it's at and where things are with their plans for the Mastery System. But something you said there, Desiree, kind of made me I had it in my notes too, and that is like, hearing the patch notes and the detailed updates on some of the spells and some of the things for each class, very meaningful to us as PA testers. But I think, and it's fun to hear about them. I know Minus said this too, like it's fun for them to talk about that. Outside of the PA testing, I put this like out to chat and out to you guys here as well. What do you think? Like, how do you think this sort of goes for people that aren't playing in pre-alpha? Like, do you think that this is like interesting to hear? Do you think that they want to hear these little, finite details? Like, what does that tell you, I guess?
We are the same person sometimes there, because I have the exact same note. Because
it's almost like we do a podcast together.
The rewind isn't today, boys.
Darn it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be getting to that soon, but yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, I kind of like that it's like public out there, but it seems almost fragmented because people that are in PA have something to connect that to. Yeah. People outside, like my biggest fear is that would be communicated to some of maybe the more like cynical as being like, wow, is that like the monthly patch notes or something? Which obviously it's not. It's just a chunk of like class updates, but it did seem a little bit detached. I think I would prefer just a little bit more context if we keep doing patch notes like that, because I think people need something to kind of connect those two to make it like really meaningful.
Yeah. Mr. Coddleshager actually in chat says, as someone who used to not be in PA, hearing all the little details, the class has really hyped me up. So, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, that's what I was asking. So it's interesting to get that perspective. So appreciate that.
I'd love to hear from anyone that's like not in PA, like how you take that.
It would be interesting.
But, all right.
Good stuff. Anything else, Des?
I'm just going to cut it short tonight, and we'll have to tackle it on the rewind tomorrow for our extended episodes now. So we'll have time to chat about it, and look forward to it.
Absolutely. Always looking forward to it. Okay. We'll talk to you then.
Toodaloo.
Later, Des.
See you, Des.
All right. So let's see. Who should we talk to next? How about Mr. Coddleshire? I just mentioned him, so I might as well bring him in. Right. So Mr. C. Mr. Coddleshire, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Good to see you.
What is up?
I feel like we see you all the time now, everywhere, all streams, all content that we do. You're hanging around. I love it. So, what's on your mind tonight?
A couple of things. Even though I haven't played Dire Lord personally, it's always nice to see a little details. One thing I wanted to bring up was the techniques. And while I'm not going to get all NDA-ish, in the past when I played other classes that had them, it adds a lot of like building and like characters that you can make, like, okay, I'm going to be a two-hander guy and I'm going to use these skills, and then with the mastery system that's going to be expanded even further and even further. So it's very nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the techniques are the techniques are an interesting part of it because every class gets them, right? This isn't necessarily specific to the Dire Lord. Like they're and I think again going back to that August update from last year, like the techniques were standardized at certain levels. Like every class gets a technique at level 2, and the one like Essence Harvester for the Dire Lord they talked about again tonight. So again, featuring the use of these techniques in addition to the abilities of the Dire Lord it adds to it. It just gives it that other dimension, right?
Yeah.
You know what's hard for me as I'm just sitting here thinking about it, that the Dire Lord is the only class, as Nathan pointed out earlier, the only option for tank. So there's nothing to compare it to.
That's true.
Right? We don't like with the shaman, we can compare it to the cleric. There's obviously a range of DPS. We can kind of compare and contrast and be like, okay, well, this one's better. This one needs to be like tweaked a little bit or whatever. And we can see like, okay, this is good, this is not good. But with the Dire Lord, it's hard to tell because we don't know what the other tanks are.
Yeah, we can only compare it with what we know that their vision is for the other ones. So it's pretty obvious that Dire Lord's going to be a great pick if you're going up against, or the best pick if you're going up against things that cast a lot of magic that need to be interrupted, etc.
Right.
Because we
Right.
know they can do that. But beyond that, and those kind of simplistic things, we really can't compare them to anything. We just know that they can tank, and that was a big concern. I think that's why they started with the Dire Lord, because it is the most challenging tank to make. They don't wear plate armor. They don't wear shields, and they're all about sustaining themselves through their own abilities and or stealing it from the enemy. So it was the most difficult tank, and they started with the hardest. So I think the Dire Lord and all the data they get from it will make it easier for them to balance out and make Warrior and Paladin. So
haven't they said about the Dire Lord that it's going to be the best single target aggro tank?
Yeah.
As well.
Did they say that? It makes sense because the Phantoms, right?
Or something like that. Something to that effect.
It's the best tank against magic users.
Definitely
right?
that. They've definitely said that. Yeah.
And they talked about that tonight with Vital Cage, right? Vital Cage is the spell that absorbs, or the ability, I should say, that absorbs incoming spell damage, right? So again, I've never played the Dire Lord in any of the PA tests. Actually, I created one for the ad hoc one they mentioned just to create a new character. But other than that, I have no experience with it. But I've always sort of looked at it as if you are looking to be, the one that is picked for a group when they're going up against magic users and they're going up against, like the Tower of the Reckless Magician. Like, let's say you're going into that dungeon for a raid, or you're doing that dungeon that night, you're going to want a Dire Lord, right? Like, you're going to want to be able to take out those spellcasters and absorb that damage. So
the way I see it, Dire Lord is really going to excel with single target, and especially with bosses. I think once you get those phantoms up high enough, your DPS will be able to let loose a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Here's what I'm thinking, because it is a build-up for the Dire Lord, right? So in my opinion, I'm just taking a wild stab in the dark here, right? Based on class fantasy. But I believe the Dire Lord will take longer, right? So peeling off with the Dire Lord is going to take time based on the information they gave us, right? But I have a feeling the Warrior will be the pill tank. I have a feeling it don't matter. I bet you anything, a Warrior will be able to pill a target right off of Dire Lord if they want to.
Savanya is deeply hurt that Monk has not been brought into the discussion.
Monks can tank, but hey, okay, we'll see a little bit of that Saturday. We'll get into that.
That's weird that we all sort of just forgot about the Monk, right? Like, we just it doesn't go
they
to your
can't
brain.
Tank, though. They are legitimate tanks, though. But
and it's from past MMO experience, right? Like, monks weren't necessarily like, you're looking for a tank, you don't look for monks, but yeah, I mean, we saw Savanya do it. I mean, she showed how effective it can be it can be done and done well. So
unfortunately, we don't have Savanya in the group. We got Basgrim, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Shots fired.
And that's not his main class, by the way. It's not.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good. I mean, we've seen a lot of the Monk, and I've enjoyed what we've seen from it. So yeah, I mean, we want more classes too. We want to see the Paladin. We want to see the Warrior. We want to see how they compare and contrast against, like you said, Draq, against the other classes.
Well, y'all know what I want, but
What do you want? I can't remember.
It's Bard.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh man,
you're in super desperation mode.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Summoner, and I was going to say I'm sorry, but then you said Bard. I was like, oh geez, I'm really sorry.
Every time in chat, I always say like, "Hey, I'm looking for breadcrumbs on the ground. I'm eating them."
Hey, you got a very powerful ally on your side, though. You've got Joppa, so you've got a powerful ally.
Yeah, hearing your want for Bard makes me feel better about my want for Ranger. So.
It's always like Nathan's like, man, I want Paladin. I'm like, please, anything. I'll take anything for Bard. Hey, Bard sings songs, cool. That'll be my year.
Right.
Just you wait.
Bard doesn't even have a class icon yet.
No,
I'm still using the
really?
Vanguard class icon.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that.
With Bard, I use the Vanguard one.
Hey, it's in the Matrix. That's the best I can hope for right now.
That's awesome. Well, good talking to you, Mr. C. Appreciate you stopping by the show. Don't be a stranger.
I never will.
All right,
Later,
man.
Mr.
See ya.
C.
Later.
See you, dude.
All right, the green room is filling up. We got lots of people coming in
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So,
All right.
how about Ray Dill? I haven't talked to him in a
Oh,
while.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah,
You
so
want to
Ray
come
Dill.
in?
Yeah, there he's unmuted. Let's do this.
Always room for more people in the green room, though.
Absolutely. Hey, Ray Dill, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Good to see you. What's shaking? What are you thinking about this stream?
The stream, I think, was too short, as being one of the only Shadow Knights, Dire Lords so far that you guys had on the show.
It was a little short. I noticed that too. It was a little short, but got some patch notes.
And I'm going to be completely opposite than Nathan when it comes to two-handed sword. I am so sick of two-handed swords for hybrid classes. I mean, I played Shadow Knight from before Kunark all the way up through Planes of Power, and that was one of the most biggest pains in the world, was having to only have two-handed swords or two-handed weapons for the most part for that class. So I am 100% for the dual wield for the class.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Completely there.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
So
When I played EverQuest, I had a ranger, and as a hybrid class, I hear you. I picked up a two-handed weapon in Plane of Hate, and it was so strange to use a two-handed weapon as a ranger, and it was a ranger only weapon. It was made for rangers. It was really weird.
Well, you got to remember too, when you're sitting there with Rangers as a hybrid and you have Warriors and you're a Shadow Knight, and Shadow Knight is supposed to be, Necromancer, supposed to be extra damage in EverQuest. Obviously, I can't talk about Pantheon because I haven't been in it. And we're lower DPS than the tank. We kind of got completely shifted aside. So when you guys are talking about, you can only compare the Dire Lord here to the Dire Lord, that is one of the main concerns of, I think you'll see a lot of the people who want to play Dire Lords in Pantheon is we're worried about when the other tank classes come in here on how bad the Dire Lord will get nerfed or how bad it's actually going to be, because they're going to have to adjust for the Warrior and Paladin and stuff like that. So not having those in there for them to be balanced with right now is a pretty good concern.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting to play it, but I also do not want to be pushed that to the side and said sorry. And that's also with the monk. You guys talk about monk tanking, and that's a thorn in my side as well. Because again, if a warrior's in the group and you have a Shadow Knight need in the group, but there's a monk, you're going to take the monk because they can off tank and DPS, and the Shadow Knight sitting aside. Those are So the monk and rogue being so good at being able to off tank really kind of has me really worried about my class.
Well,
and also you don't have the other tanks in group, so you can't really say how that's going to be until that's in there. And so I'm really worried that even the paladin may get pushed down into do we really need those classes, because we can optimize with just this,
with just the warrior.
Well, let me
warrior,
just say,
rogue,
and I don't
monk.
think. Oh, I don't think this is breaking NDA, because they've given all. You can see all the progress that happens, and they went through all the changes for the Dire Lord today. But like, they're not locked, or it's my opinion is they're not locked in on any fine tuning of any class anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that type of deal. I think that they're getting the skills established, right? And the skills are doing what they want them to do, but like in terms of like numbers and how, like, none of that stuff is like solid at all. I think that's easily changeable and tunable when they get closer to pre-alpha or regular alpha or beta or launch.
And another thing, come watch us on Saturday on any of the streams, because we will there'll be comparisons between a monk tanking and a Dire Lord tanking, and I think you'll see that they've tuned that really well.
But the question comes into off tanking. So I get they may not, with a healer dedicated to the Dire Lord being able to tank. They're going to be the prime tank, but when you have, let's say, a warrior in the group, and you have a choice between a Dire Lord or a monk, and the monk can off tank, if they off tank well enough that you don't even consider having a secondary tank in the group, that's going to be the problem. Same thing with the rogue. If they can sustain if you don't have an enchanter that's able to do so, and you have rogue in there
Right.
CCing, are they going to be able to CC so well that you don't need a secondary tank? Because that's going to be the problem when you have 3 tanks.
Well,
Most
the
groups only
rogue,
need 1.
the rogue, for example, if they are, and we've seen this with Minus playing it, right? If the rogue decides to crowd control, so there's always these. Pantheon's really good about building these. You can this, but that, right? And for the rogue, the but that is that's all they can do. They're useless beyond just holding down that target, right? They can't attack, they can't do DPS. They got to hold that target. Whereas the enchanter is built for crowd control, whereas they have lots of options, beyond just holding the target, because that's not their in an emergency kind of situation. That's their main thing, right? And it's hard to talk without breaking NDA, but
no worries.
But from what we know now, obviously the warrior and the paladin will be the biggest chance because those are tanks, right? They're real, from the ground up tanks. It's their main
with the heavy
role.
armor.
But I can say that from what we have to compare from so far, they've done a really good job of balancing that. Oh, you can do this, but that, right?
Yeah.
And the but that is a big but that, and it affects the entire group. So you would rather the main thing, the main role, right? It's a backup, and they've done a really good job with the abilities and the stats and the data to make that work that way.
And so,
but like you said, it is scary though. It is scary. It's something I worry about with the paladin as well.
Going back to the stream, there's a few things I really liked how they did with the class compared to, let's say, EQ, where every level you actually gain a little something instead of going and waiting for that specific level to get all your skills at one time. They'll definitely feel that progression a little bit more. I think that's going to be really cool and fun on there. That's going to be very enjoyable. Every level getting a little something extra. So I was kind of really glad they did that. The 3-minute cooldown, though, that's got me scared. But
yeah,
I don't like long cooldowns.
Yeah, they are scary, dude. A long cooldown is scary because what ends up happening is you get in a situation where you blow the cooldown, right? And then let's say it's a 3-minute cooldown. It's always like this: 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, you need to do that cooldown. And you're like, oh, I blew it on a situation wasn't even that bad. Now I really need to do it, but I've got 30 seconds. So there's a lot of that. And then if you don't use it, you end up never using it because you're always waiting you're like, well, this ain't that bad. I'll wait. There could be worse. So it's a mind game. It drives me crazy too.
I get that too. It's like the enemy of good is better, right? Because you're always trying to get it just right, and then either you miss it, or it's like, with the interrupts in a lot of these classes that's been my experience, is trying to get that interrupt, and it just you either miss it or you wait too long. It's hard to do.
Yeah, it's that potion in the JRPG thing they're talking about in chat where you're like, oh, I'm saving this for serious. And you're on the last boss, you're like, well, there might be some end game. I'm still saving it.
The next phase that never comes, right? Yeah, I hear you.
It stays with me till I retire the character.
You can definitely tell that Draq played only wizards too, because I hate to tell you, but hybrids have always struggled with the stat balancing.
Oh yeah,
with our classes, because even in EQ, intelligence was really high for getting our mana up there. For doing all of our life taps and everything. And then of course we had to have balance strength and stamina on top of it all. So we're used to stat balancing.
Yeah.
Poor wizards only need intelligence.
Listen, it's so boring. Okay, my intelligence is 250. Now what am I gonna do?
Now what?
Nothing. I'm gonna do nothing.
You start doing push-ups once in a while.
I'm gonna start transmogging items. That's what I'm gonna do.
In Pantheon, you start working that strength up so you can push those fireballs out harder.
Right? Remember that?
Remember that? That's
you remember that? Actually, you know what? That actually brings up a good point, Nathan. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of going back to the August update again. Remember in the skills they described them that it was like you would have these abilities and they were affected by 2 different stats. It was like 25% by strength, 10%, of your intelligence stat. I noticed on these updates, in the descriptions at least, that notation was gone. That doesn't seem to be there anymore. So I kind of wonder if they're not doing that anymore, where, that influence of your stats. I doubt it, but I just wanted to point out that in the tooltips, at least the way the ones they showed tonight, that wasn't there. So
yeah,
interesting. Anything else on your mind, Riddell? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Just one thing for Minus. When he is talking about the new stats and on a character, he might want to explain the differences in the essence pools because, I'm not in game, so I'm not used to seeing which ones are each. And I was trying to think in my head which essence was what when he was talking about this one does this and Drain's here, and I'm going, man, I don't remember which one is what. And because I don't play, I see it on the streams once every few weeks or month or whatever, depending on how work's going, how fast I can see and watch stuff. And so I was trying to remember what each pool was and how they work. And he ran right through those. I'm going, okay, but what was what?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. On PA testers, how it sort of hits them, right? And you don't have that context for it. So, a little bit more of just a reminder of, okay, here's your resources and here's what we're doing. Here's what your skills use.
That would have been very helpful, because then when he's talking about, a couple, this one uses this resource and this one doesn't. It's like, okay, but it uses something. How does that work?
Right. Yeah.
So,
really good point.
But that's all I had.
All right. Well, thanks, Riddell. Appreciate the input.
Yep. Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right. Who's next? How about we talk to our friend Sarah, our moderator and poll creator tonight. If you have been following the chat there, she's been putting up polls to get your thoughts on. So let's talk to Sarah.
She never has anything to say.
No, she's known for her shyness, actually, right, Sarah?
Oh yeah, totally. You guys will never hear my voice.
How's it going? Yeah, what's up?
What's up?
Lots of talk about Essen tonight, or I guess it's Essence. It was really confusing there watching that stream.
He needs to play a Dire Lord. He needs to play a Dire Lord called Essen, the Essence Spender.
Yeah,
that would be hilarious. But yeah, you're definitely gonna have competition on that whole enchanter thing, Mr. Time to Shine Enchanter. Never played better, Therek.
Oh man, I'm up for it. I'm here. Bring it on. Only till the Ranger comes around, then he can have it.
Right? Yeah. Enchanter's old news.
Yeah, that's right. Second class. What'd you think of the stream?
I don't have a whole lot of opinions on the Dire Lord, to be perfectly honest. Tanks are so not my thing. I am so happy for everybody that's enjoying them, and I know that Stan's had a lot of input for them recently, so I hope he's happy with all of the changes. He'll let you know if he is not.
That's a great point. That's a great point, actually. He definitely did, and we talked about this, I think, on one of the shows on 101 or 201, that he was very vocal in his feedback and was very, happy to see it sort of become reality. They actually talked about that during the stream too, right? They said they received a lot of positive feedback from the testers about some of the changes they've made, and that a lot of these changes are the result of that feedback. So just affirming, right, that it's really important if you're a PA tester to be providing that feedback and not being afraid to be critical, to be to say something's not working when it's not working. And I really appreciate, I respect Stan's for many reasons, but that's definitely one of them. He was very, very detailed in that feedback.
Yeah, man, the devs are definitely listening, which is one of the reasons why I'm so into this game and such a, committed supporter and follower. But I don't have a lot of personal opinions on the Dire Lord. I think it looks like it's shaping up to be really great. I ran a poll and everybody and everybody Dire Lord won the poll by one on favorite version of that class, which we haven't even seen it yet. Unless you're a PA tester. It won by one over the Shadow Knight from the EverQuest era. So yeah, there were a few options in there, and people are excited about the Dire Lord. So I'm excited for them to get in there and try it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But mostly I'm excited for the streams, multiple this weekend. That's what I'm here for real.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun. And again, people watching this, watch Nathan's stream. Watch him play. I mean, he's probably the most experienced, outside of the devs, the most experienced Dire Lord player that this game has at this point.
I'm gonna-
And watch our stream too. Actually, I posted about that too, and the winner was people are going to be like multi-viewing. People are going to be bouncing back and forth. They want to see all the views, all the angles, which is pretty awesome. Like how they're going to manage that is going to be interesting. Like I wish I could have a camera of a viewer viewing all the streams at once and see what that looks like for them. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's going to be fun.
And beyond that, too, don't forget that everybody that's doing it, so like Draq's going to have his video up on YouTube, because here's the deal. It's fun to, this is about to be the most content we've ever had dumped on the same day of Pantheon. Sorry, I don't know why I use the word dump. I keep doing that. But because like, it's not just about the perspective. It is, and that's really cool. And you can learn a lot from that, but also you got to understand each streamer is going to be having private conversations with their chat as well, right? So there's going to be just so much information each individual streamer is going to be releasing. I'm trying not to say dump no more. It'll be releasing onto the to the community. That it's going to be
Chat is
massive.
really taking your preference for the word dump to the next level.
They've been making
Chat
fun
is
of
a
me.
fan of the dump.
Yeah, they like it.
Keep talking about dumps.
Look at all these subs, by the way.
Oh, thank you,
we
Random
Random
Robin
Rob's
Sparrow.
gifting them. Yeah.
Random
He's
Rob
dumping those
Sparrow.
subs out.
Yes, he is.
I'm interested to see how you guys are going to like balance, since everybody's going to be streaming. Like everybody's going to want to talk about their classes and talk about what you guys know about the game. So you're going to have to like raise your hand and take turns. Like now it's my turn to talk about my class. Like,
I think the plan is definitely that we're gonna mute each other in Discord. And so we'll be talking on stream while having each other muted in Discord. And then as we need to talk to each other in the group, we're going to unmute ourselves in Discord. And so that's kind of the rough plan. So there, like Nathan said, there is going to be a lot of chatter that you're not going to hear on the other streams in the stream, that whatever stream you got that you're watching. So it's going to be super interesting to go back, like Nathan just said. It's going to be super interesting to go back and listen to all the different streams and all the different perspectives. I'm going to go back and watch all the streams. Like I'm watching every single
Yeah,
one.
me
of them.
too.
And
Me too. Absolutely.
because I just think it's going to be fascinating to do. So
Yeah, by the time you finish seeing everything there is to see, it will be sometime in May, and we'll have a new developer update. So.
we can find out if Therek really is the one pulling mobs from multiple viewers.
You better believe I'm going to blame him, regardless. It's just a thing now. It's just a thing.
Oh boy! Oh, I'm gonna get you back on Saturday, Nathan. I'm gonna.
By the way, that was a legit accident. I legitimately think when I see an elf that it's Therek.
I
don't know why.
Every elf is Therek.
I just see an elf and I think it's Therek. I apologize. I forgot he was a bear. I just seen an elf and I was like,
So easy
Therek
to confuse the two, for sure.
Yeah, let's
I
just
forgot he
say.
was a bear. I forgot.
Boy.
Man,
Good
is
stuff.
there? I have a question about the streams on Saturday. Is anybody doing a pre-show on their channel or an after show?
Not for me. I don't think any of us plan on it.
No, I don't. I think because Ko's kind of running the show in terms of time, and so we're just going to kind of start with Ko, and then we're just kind of end with Ko. I think that's the general plan.
Yeah,
We're gonna go with Ko.
Ko is leading the charge because he's got the most or the least amount of wiggle room. The rest of us have no life.
right. So what we want to do, basically, what we're trying to say is we need to entertain Ko enough that he loses track of time.
Right. That's 100%.
There you go. There you go. That's the key. Yeah. As long as he says we can keep going, we keep going. So,
That's right. That's right.
He's got investor staff.
Oh, that's
We'll make
that's,
we'll get
those are
Joppa
some
to look
beans
the other
right
way.
there, so we all have to distract Ko.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys want to hop over to Ko and just be like, no, don't stop, please keep going. You know what I'm saying? Now you know the secret. It's up to him.
Yeah. And minus, yes. So I'll be streaming on our YouTube channel, on the Pantheon Plus YouTube channel. Draq will be streaming on the Pantheon Plus Twitch channel. So we have both going. So
And then Desrin, and I'm going to link his channel here again. Where are you, Desrin? Why doesn't this put this in alphabetical order?
Professional streamer.
Where'd it go?
I like fate Fate put long COVID. That's exactly what we're going for long COVID on Saturday.
Yeah, nice.
Love it.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually.
Did Desrin disconnect? Because I don't see him on my list of
He's
people I
in
can
here.
shout out.
He's still
He's
here.
here.
He's still chatting it up.
I don't know.
How do you do it? Explanation mark.
Yeah, do the shout out, Desrin. Desrin does.
Got it.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Sarah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, guys. Excited
Yeah,
for
thanks,
the
Sarah.
weekend.
We'll see you soon.
Do the poll.
Bye.
All right. Next up, how about Redbeard Flynn? Raider. Redbeard the Raider. You ready, Red? Unmute yourself. There you go. Coming in. Hey, Red. How's it going? Thanks for the raid.
How are y'all doing?
Doing great.
What's up?
Super
Doing
excited.
great, man.
So I got to start this by saying I for months I have been saying Nathan is a dire lord. Like
Oh boy.
literally months of me saying this.
I knew it. I knew it. All right, so let's hear it. What you got?
No, I'm just saying, like, with it's very clear that the paladin is just a front, and I mean, I was there when we set up the gnome run massacre.
Yeah.
Nathan, that's not a very
that's
paladin
cool.
thing to do.
Lots of evidence. There's lots of evidence.
That was deadly.
You see what you're doing to me, VR? You're tainting my mind.
He slaughtered gnomes in the scores,
Listen,
like just in droves. He slaughtered them.
I don't want to have to bring up Fortress de Vaillard, but
That's another example. I've got that on video. I
remember
used
when
that
he
in my.
when he killed a helpless
very well.
a little person just because he had to complete the quest?
Just because we had to complete the quest,
Yeah.
we had to do it. It was mandatory assignment. Okay. Now the second time I killed the guy, that was an accident.
Yeah, that was, I was just
Spooked
gonna
me.
say it wasn't just once. He went back for blood. Yeah. Nathan's a true dire lord. There's no denying.
It's getting bad. We're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to get that paladin sometime soon, or I'll be consumed by the dire.
Consumed. So, what do you think of the stream, Red?
So, like, with all apologies to Savannah, I think that I may be switching from monk main to dire lord at this point. Like,
Oh wow!
There
That's
was-
a big change. That's a big thing.
as I was watching the stream, like, I was just so it brought up so many memories of all the different types of classes, like, that are obviously very much linked to this, like the Dreadlord, Death Knight, Shadow Knight, all those things, and just skills. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh, like every time I saw an ability, like the life tap and things like that, I was just getting more and more excited, and it just made me so eager to play, which is actually kind of the same feeling I got when I first saw the monk gameplay. And so it was just like it's the way that it was, just watching it play out made me that much more eager to play, and seeing the kind of the differences with, dual wield and all the different skills and how you can make strategic choices in combat and that kind of thing. That's all. It was really, for me, it was a great stream just to see some of that kind of inside, especially as someone who's not in pre-alpha. So I don't know, like, how things have been developing. So getting to see it from that outside was a huge refreshing thing for me to get to see some of that, like the granular type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Savannah, don't worry. As soon as you do the monk refresh video, he'll be back to monk. Like, he's just a ping pong ball. It's coming back.
That's absolutely
No,
true. That's
I want to
absolutely
say
true.
that he might be stuck on the dire lord because actually, Redbeard Flynn is a necro, right?
True. Yeah,
True.
he is waiting
True.
for the necro.
So I will say this, and I'm gonna take it easy here. I want to get really excited, but I got to wait till Saturday. Based on what we just seen, every ability the dire lord can do, right, is it could be a necro skill. It really could be. Besides, some of the more maybe not their effect, right? Like a necro wouldn't want to be holding threat or something, but like, as far as like what they do and how they do it, right? We've all heard about Lead and Blood, for example. I don't remember if they covered that in the stream, but it's been covered, where you slow the enemy down. That's because you're literally making their blood heavier, right? You're sapping their life energy to keep yourself alive. Everything about it is twisted and dark like a necro, right? And I will say this, and I'm not making a case for me any better, but I did play a Shadow Knight in EverQuest 2 quite a bit, actually. I like the Shadow Knight. Sometimes I do want to do the very opposite of a Paladin, right? So I did play a Shadow Knight in EverQuest 2 a lot, and it has the same feel as that, or like the Dreadnought. I think that was what it was called in Vanguard, but better. It's better. And there's more strategy. You really are like constantly making decisions through the fight to be better. I think you're going to love it. I don't think you will come back from the monk. I think you try Dire Lord, you'll be there for good until the Necro's launched.
Yeah, and that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting to. Like just watching the skills play out, watching the gameplay video, and hearing what Minus describe it. It sounded. I mean, it of course sounds like the closest I'm going to get to Necro for a long time. And I was a Shadow Knight in EverQuest 1, Shadow Knight in EverQuest 2, and a Death Knight in World of Warcraft. So I was trying to go for something a little different, but it's pulling me back in.
You can't. You got to be true to yourself, Red. Don't fight it. your inner evil.
Unless you're a ranger, then fight it.
No, but it's my outer evil. Like I've been very clear about the necromancer for a long time.
I'm not hiding it. I'm telling you, I'm incarnate. That's awesome. Yeah, no, really. I mean, I hear you, and it's interesting to hear that outside PA perspective on the granular nature of it, because people are really into that's the whole fun of these classes is learning your class so well and just being so good at it and getting the little details that make the difference, right?
Exactly. I think it makes it feel real. It makes it feel a lot more real from the outside in.
Yeah.
Well,
I definitely agree with that.
Guys, guess what? Now that Redbeard Flynn has decided to dump the Necro, or not the Necro, I'm sorry, the Monk in favor of the Dire Lord, next thing you know, maybe he'll dump that filter and go, full-blown Brownbeard Flynn. Maybe he'll do it. I'm just saying. It could be a new day. Could be a new day.
That's cool.
The Redbeard has brought him so much success, though. I can't see him changing. I mean, its whole brand is Redbeard.
It does feel better. It does feel better to say Redbeard Flynn. Was that why you did that? Because it just flows off the tongue? Yeah. No.
I had a brand meeting before I launched my channel. They said Brownbeard Flynn just wasn't going to work. I asked about Graybeard Flynn. They said that's the next iteration.
Oh, that's the next. That's like powering up. That's like the next tier.
That's Super Saiyan form.
Yes.
And I know Red Co is one of your sort of favorites, right? Like a big inspiration for your channel, and you must be excited for the stream on Saturday, I'd imagine, to see Co get back in there and do some group play this time.
I mean, like it's like full circle. I was thinking for a while back, how I found Pantheon, and Co Carnage is the reason why I found Pantheon.
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
I stumbled upon his stream. I was watching, and I just watched the stream of his gameplay back in, I was like 2016 or 2017, a long time ago. And then I started watching more of Co, and I watched gameplay videos and stuff like that. And so Co Carnage is the reason why I stream and make YouTube content, and then Pantheon is like tied to all that. So it's just kind of amazing to see y'all doing that, and it's so exciting, and I'm so happy, and I love to see the community kind of coming together, coalescing, and I have just been I'm so excited for this weekend, and I can't wait to watch and kind of see everyone's perspective and just kind of be a fan over the weekend and enjoy it.
That you just said the word that is going to be the theme of this Saturday, and that is coalescing. We need to work that into the title.
That's good.
Everything's coalescing. Love it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, get in there. Awesome. That's great, Red, man. I love to hear that. Excited as well. So anything else you wanted to mention?
No, that's it. I just really enjoyed the stream. I thought it was great. I thought the length was actually really good. I know some people were saying it was short, but I think it was good for like a kind of a class refresh.
Mhm.
And we got a lot of gameplay footage. We got a lot of like I was saying granular information. And I mean the game looks like it's coming together well. I'm excited, and I the whole time I was watching it, I just kept saying how I just want to play this game. That was just what I kept feeling and thinking. And okay, now please don't DMCA me, Visionary Realms, but I was live streaming the stream. And I kept telling my chat that like I just want to play, and I want everyone in this chat to come play with me, because that's the kind of game that it feels like. It's just like you want to be there, and that's the kind of feeling I haven't had with an MMO. Really, like, and I cover lots of MMOs, and it's just there's something different about Pantheon, and I'm very excited for it.
Perfect. Well said, man. Totally well said. 100%. Awesome. Well, we'll talk to you. We'll see you soon, I guess.
Thank you all.
See you, man.
Yeah, see you, man.
All right, I'm putting Redbeard Flynn's YouTube channel in the chat there. Make sure if you're not subbed, you probably already are, because he's like,
I feel like daily videos from Red.
yeah, he's
putting up videos on the daily
exploding
now.
like a crazy man on YouTube.
Yeah.
So if you're not watching him and you like MMOs or RPGs at all, you should definitely sub to him.
Yep, very much
Yep.
so. All right, our next victim. Let's talk to Man of Rohan,
Whoop, whoop.
the musical master, the Lotro expert, and all around great guy.
Future music composer of Therek's Rainbow.
Ooh, hey, hold on. I don't know if he's ready to release that yet. Man of Rohan, what do you have to say?
Well, that's what's next. So, yeah, Daimos is singing it. So, we're working on the visuals right now, but he has some storyboards he wants to share with me. So,
Therek's Rainbow is taking off like
Therek's
no,
Rainbow has storyboards.
I had no idea this would go beyond an after one-time thing, and it's completely gotten out of control.
This is high quality production.
It's made me want to learn how to animate. So I know that is ridiculously long and takes forever. I think Nathan knows better than many of us, but I'm like, I want to animate some things like the original. You know, I don't know if I can draw and animate a guy lassoing a ship from the shore, but I'm not sure.
It's amazing how much nostalgia that song has evoked in the community. Everybody seems to be like, "Oh God, I love that song."
Dude, there was nothing better than a Saturday morning. All the cartoons that you wanted to watch were over, and all of a sudden, here comes Reading Rainbow,
Here
and
comes
you're like,
LeVar
"Oh
Burton."
yeah, that's cool too."
It was a good show. I can't lie. I'm happy to have my name attached to it now. So yeah. What's going on though, man, Ryan? Other than your endeavors, what'd you think of the stream tonight? Anything you wanted to say?
Well, I liked it. I'm glad. I thought the length was good. I think some people mentioned that. It leaves us more time now in this show, so I enjoy this part maybe more generally than the original, because I like talking about it, because you know, in the chat or in you're dealing with trolls often, and I like just want to chat about things and have good discussions. But it wasn't that bad tonight, actually. So in fact, it wasn't bad really at all. So I think there was like one comment, so it's good, excellent,
nice, yeah, good.
But I am a fan of Dire Lord only dual wield. Maybe I think two hand is fine, but I think Dire Lord is more berserker than anyone, and I feel like they have no regrets. You know, they're running in. they put the blood all over their head. It's a mantle on their shoulders. They're berserking. They're running in. They've gotten into this wild fury of something. That's what I imagine, and that's not every Dire Lord or every idea that everyone has about Dire Lord, but that's what I think of. So I think I don't need no shield. I don't need no anything else. I'm just going to, beat the living hell out of you for however long. So, and with all my spells. So that's what I think of. So I'm a fan of dual wield. But two-hander is cool. It can be really intimidating, and yeah.
So you're making me think. You're bringing me into a lore mode, Manarohan, because you're talking about a Dire Lord and the berserk nature and that kind of thing. If you remember the signature character that they released, Arakamel, right? And think about his weapon. So the weapon he wields is a two-handed halberd. It's like a spear / halberd kind of looking thing. It's called Moonfell. So that's what we have to go by so far for Dire Lords. And if you're talking like canon, like what is VR seeing, this is a representation of a Dire Lord. So I'm kind of getting the two-handed vibe, too.
Yeah.
And
well, they're wrong. Just
you know what? Arakamel is pretty badass. If you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I think you do need to have both. Someone mentioned it was Radel or Mr. C saying that they were nervous about kind of pigeonholing the hybrid classes, and so that they're not able to do a lot of things, and so that they might get ambiguated later because let's just use a warrior because we don't need that guy. We don't need that rangers. I was a ranger. That's just what happened. If there was anything else but a ranger, you wouldn't get in the group. Almost. So,
wow.
What is that ever happened?
I feel like I'm being punished for my comment here. Oh my gosh, I've offended Man of Rohan so badly. My gosh,
Derek's under attack.
I am under attack.
Was I attacking? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just talking.
No, it's great. Keep going.
I was joking.
Just stating facts.
Look, rangers were available. If you didn't take us, that was your loss. Really?
Yeah, I mean, I would like that, but that's, I've had this discussion before, but that's why I tried to be as good at polling as I could be, so people would want to keep me in the group.
There you go.
Yeah, I was the needy ranger. Please don't ditch me, guys. I need levels.
I need levels too.
Poll really good.
I know I'm going to suck away half your experience, but I'm worth it.
Yeah. Have you seen my polling macro? It's very funny.
Yeah. Look how clever I am. Yeah.
Look how clever I am.
But I liked hearing the patch notes. That was maybe my favorite part. Of it, because I liked hearing about the ad hoc tests. Was really enheartening for me and for those who didn't know about them. So I can't speak for other people, but I think probably because to me it just means motion is happening and things are speeding up. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was sort of writing that comment down that I mentioned earlier about what does this do for non-PA testers, but also what it tells people. Even if you don't know what they're talking about on a fine level, you see progress, you hear progress. You're like, okay, so they're getting this class to a place where they want it to be. So they've used the term like asynchronous development in the past, right? If you think about what another option they could have done, another route they could have taken is, here's all the classes, we're going to sort of give them all basic skills and then develop them at the same time. And then the feedback will be like balancing the tank. So if you had the warrior, paladin, dire lord, and maybe the monk in at the same time, then the feedback and the changes they'd be making might be a little different, right? Because you'd have them all to sort of work with each other. But so I wonder if this direction, this way of doing it with just not taking that into account will have some effect down the road. But it's just that was the thought I had as I was watching this as well. So I thought
there are different ways, but that you can certainly do. But I think probably the most enheartening was the ad hoc tests for me. So thank you, VR, for saying that. Because you hear about the monthly tests, which was already increase in momentum, the monthly tests. Right. But now saying, there were ad hoc tests that we're doing, and we didn't tell anyone about it because you're not a VIP, but now we're telling you. So that's pretty cool. So
it is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It is heartening. Yeah.
Right. So just that the momentum is happening more. I feel like I need to speed up writing songs about all the races now. And like things are, it's going to be go time before you know it. So
I think the two ad hoc tests might have also contributed to the possibly shorter dev stream tonight too.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're totally right.
Yeah, but
and that's a good trade. I'll take that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy for the quick hits here and more focus on because it takes time, and I know Minus talked about separating it out, and that's a big part of his job. So great, that's awesome. But including others for certain things, and that just takes time that could be used developing in other ways. So I'm not really complaining because we all have to know about this, or else everyone loses interest and then they don't have a job anyway. So
It's
you know,
true.
eventually they aren't making a game except for free. You know, but when it comes to class deep dives, I get bored. So I'm not those folks who I'm like I can't wait to read all the different things in this. If it's lore, sure, like a story, I'm like that. But when it's you know, oh, it's 2.5 seconds and it's this much concentration. Oh man, I need to put that. I'm not making fun of anyone else for doing this, but I am not that person to really geek out about those numbers. And I'm glad there are people like that because you know, that I'm glad there are other people than me because I think of Stans. I love that he's leading the group in the raid on Tuesday nights because he thinks about these kinds of things. I don't. I go play and I'll experience, and once I run into a problem, like, oh, let me figure some things out. Let me look at the stats on this and whatever.
Yeah,
agree.
You know, I'm that kind of guy.
I know. I'm definitely somewhere. I'm somewhere in the range. Definitely not as far over as like Minus is the same way. We used to, talk about this all the time. He just loves those things. Like he loves the fine number details, and I'm like, I get it. Like I understand why it's important, and I get the big picture part of it. But when it comes to the real like, impact of 1 point here and 1 point there, I'm like, I kind of tune out a little bit. But
Yeah, I'm good with punctuations of geek, of the geek outs for sure. But I want to know, like, the reason we did this is for this kind of capability. I want to know from a bigger picture because, because I'm not in there playing. Someone said, I wonder what a non-PA tester. This is, and I'm not a PA tester, and that's what I feel. So, just from a marketing standpoint, I want to know those larger things about. If you're doing this, it helps in this way at just a little bit larger, a little coarser grain. So
yeah, true.
Anyway, that's just mine. But I'm looking forward to hearing about a new class soon. For God's sake,
we all are.
We all are. We're all gems for it. Yep.
Yeah, we all are. So I'm not really complaining. I'm just like, oh gosh, please, new class. I'm glad for Dire Lord, and I'm glad it's being redone, but. I want to hear about a new class, please.
I'm pretty sure Nathan is sleeping outside of VR's doors with like a "Will pay for Paladin" sign.
Dude, I'm so desperate now. I'm excited about the Warrior just to not have to be a Dire Lord and get out of these jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one thing that I've noticed
that's definitely a thing.
As they keep talking about the classes, and Red is falling for it each time, it seems like he's just going to switch classes every time they talk about how awesome the next one is. I
totally think that too.
But so when Ranger comes out and it's really awesome, he wants to be a Ranger. I know it. But every class that they've talked about, I've seen the really cool thing about each one of them. Every single one of them, and I've gotten excited for all of them. Like, oh man, this is not good news because I've got another life that I need to live, and not just the life in the game. So, but as far as being ambiguated as a class, I think that the way that they seem to be designing it is that the strength is absolutely the chains, that's a bad word, but the restrictions that they're putting on each one of the classes to say, this is who you are. So now you know who this class is, but then that frees up those people because they have those constraints to be more, each one of those players to be more creative with how they're playing, and I think the way that they seem to be designing is saying this class is really good at several things, and you're really good at several things as well, but when you work together, you can come up with all these creative ways. So, some games say every class can do anything. That's the way they've made it happen. So you end up it's just boring. But I think that every class can do really important things. That makes it so that I could play almost any class in a group and still be successful. But I'm still really specific on that class, or that the utility and the whatever you want to say about that class is just as important as the next type of class in that group. So the group composition can be many different things and be very
cool. So, many different things.
I like the word useful. I want to feel like I can be useful in any group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody looks for, right? They want that. Nobody wants to be that class that people invite just because they don't literally have any other option left but to
Nathan,
they
you
pick
could
that guy.
say it. No one wants to be the Ret Paladin. No one wants to be that guy.
Exactly. That's a good example, actually. In certain, it changes depending on what expansion you're talking about, but that's a really good example, right? Like classic WoW. Nobody wanted you if you're a Ret Pally. They saw Pally and they'll invite you, but they thought you were a holy Pally.
They would
and if you're
literally
not,
eject you from the group when
they would literally kick you out of the group. They would laugh at you. They'd be like, a Ret Pally? Bro, ain't nobody supposed to be playing that. Get out of here. Like, what's in the game?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and
Great
then
stuff.
I did have a little bit of copium when Minus did say, he was talking about he's like, hey, guys, remember when we said once the networking is stable, we're going to move on to some other things. And immediately I thought, ooh, Ranger. Ooh, Summoner. Because those were the things that all of us Ranger and Summoner lovers, I'm a mini lover. I love lots of the classes.
Just like
I don't
term
think this
Summoner
is just
lover.
a Redbeard Flynn problem.
Yeah, maybe. No,
That's why he
I'll
knows
fall
it so
for
well.
too,
That's
yeah.
why he's able to spot it. He's like, I know my kind when I see them.
Oh my God.
But so he said that, and I thought, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to hear. We've gotten the networking stable enough that now we've moved on to this thing that we said we were going to do once the networking stuff is done. So anyway, that's me.
Yeah.
It's copium, I know, but that's where I'm at.
You know what? You're allowed to speculate on whatever you like. That is the beauty of watching a game in development. Is that you never know what to expect.
Yep.
So,
Anyway,
awesome.
that's it from me. Thanks for letting me talk again.
No, thank you
Appreciate it.
for jumping in, and thank you
Yeah,
for all the
good talk.
musical stuff you do, man. You're just awesome. You're so talented, and
Thank
just
you.
I sometimes get to hear a little preview of what Man Rohan's working on, and I cherish those pings in Discord where I'm like, a new song.
Yeah. It's just so I don't get the lore wrong. That's the biggest reason I share it with Therek. Like, am I screwing this up or what? So
if that's what I can contribute, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Quit being a loser and go subscribe to his channel. Can we get ready for this, man?
We're gonna play a little sea shanty here.
Do it.
You ready?
By the way, no one's a loser. Just come to the channel. Come listen to the
Here you go.
Soon may the Pantheon come to bring us friends and MMO fun. One day when the beta is done, we'll all log in and go.
Beautiful.
Yes.
All right.
Go subscribe right now. We're gonna play the sea shanty nonstop until you do.
He took horrible voices and did that. Like, I don't know if you guys understand.
My favorite comment on that video, someone wrote in there, Nathan Napalm actually sounds good.
I know that. By the way, I asked him to put it like a little off key, etc.
Oh my gosh, that comes through, and he did it 100%.
He did
when Nathan's part comes up, it's like you're like, oh, okay, these guys can think, and then Nathan's come up, you're like, and then there's Nathan.
No, I felt like it was like the B section where it was like kind of like in minor key is what I felt like. It wasn't, but it kind of felt like, oh, this is the different part. This is where we, It gets a little darker,
It gets a little crazy at this part. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. All right, man, Ryan, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Yeah.
Make sure you go sub to his channel.
Go sub to his channel. Last but not least in the green room is our friend Fate. Let's bring in Fate. So if you want to unmute yourself, Fate, I will bring you in. There you go. Hey, Fate. How goes it?
What is up?
How's it going, everybody?
It's going really well. We hang out a lot these days. Tuesday nights on the 101 and quests and coffee. Feel like we're doing a lot of gaming together, which is nice. So
I'm so looking for it's like over a week away, but I'm so looking forward to the next quest and coffee already.
Yeah.
We've been having such a blast on there.
Yeah, playing some Solasta. So anyway, stream tonight. What are your thoughts?
Not a whole lot of thoughts. I'm kind of with others in that, like, I actually do love the granularity of the streams. I love seeing like all the everything get shown, and like we can watch the evolution of like the classes and the abilities, and like as they kind of drill down onto what they actually want the game to look like. and that's always good to see. And so like the granularity can help with that, even if sometimes you're like, I'm not really interested in Dire Lord, so your eyes gonna glaze over as Minus talks for 20 minutes about essence this and essence that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I mean, to be fair, he unless it's the rogue, there's always going to be one couple levels down of excitement, right? So he admitted it on the stream. He said, he was forced to play tanks, in some games because he had a position and he needed to fill that role for his group and for his guild. So give him credit for,
yeah,
taking one for the team most of the time, which he's known for. So.
I feel like that story, like he couldn't tell the whole details because he was on, obviously VR stream. But like absolutely everybody that's ever talked to Minus even one single time, it's like the Draq stories, right? Like everybody knew exactly as soon as he even started that sentence exactly what he was talking about because it's like that's one of Minus's stories for sure. It definitely shaped him. You know what I mean? It obviously was a very influential moment in MMO Minus's life.
Yes, absolutely.
What are you talking about, Nathan? Are you saying I get banned a lot from MMOs? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean that you had this. You had the stories. And there's like 10 of them, and everybody's heard them.
It's true.
This is what it is being part of a long-term community. Is you tell the same stories over and over again. That's why
I'm that old guy that sits on his porch and tells everybody the same story. That's what I do.
We're all the guys at the bar sitting there, on their drink that they've been on for 6 hours, and they're like, dude, you just told me the story 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
I know, but it's a good one, right? Exactly.
I know for a fact that my EverQuest 2 guild would groan out loud when they heard the words Dark Ages of Camelot. I don't know how often I talked about that game, but it was a little too much considering I played it for like less than a year, and I'm like 3 years deep into EverQuest 2 and still talking about Dark Ages of Camelot. Oh, this one time on Dark Ages of Camelot.
Yeah, this one.
Dude, there's one community that's the king of that though. And no offense if you're out there, I love you. This was a cool game. I get it, right? But nobody ever tops the EQOA community. Nobody.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody tops that community.
Yeah. Yep.
And we got a lot of them in the Pantheon community. I think every single person that played EQOA is here at the Pantheon community.
I barely even knew that game existed.
Me too.
Until people in this community started talking about it. And it's like I knew about it. I just thought it was you could play EQ from the PlayStation, just like you could play Final Fantasy 11 from the PlayStation. I had no idea there was a whole separate game.
Yeah, it was its own thing. There was just such a barrier to entry to get into it. It wasn't. It was so hard to get into. But if you got past, it's like the Final Fantasy 11 installer. Once you get past it, you're never leaving because you're traumatized by the event of actually making it work.
Yep.
I did have something to ask you guys about stats because you brought it up way earlier. About like the kind of stats that you guys want to see for like different classes. Like Nathan, what do you want to see as like your secondary and tertiary stats on a paladin? You want to see more wisdom? You want to see more charisma?
I'm a fan of charisma for paladin. Me personally, I'm a big fan of that. It makes sense because like in the fantasy, paladins are kind of like they're all
they're leaders.
They're leaders and they're very. Like the paladin is an interesting fantasy because like they come from the church of being humble and things, but the paladin doesn't really do the humble. Sometimes they do, it depends on the situation, but they'll be out in the streets like commanding and like really like they're the high horse class, right? Like they're up on the high horse sometimes. And I like that. And they need charisma to pull that off, right? To pull off authority and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think charisma fits really well. The paladins always usually have a lot of stats to juggle, and they got to kind of find what. I think in Pantheon it will probably come down to what abilities and things you mainly use, and you'll try to focus on those. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that like something I would like to see is like kind of a choice and a something where you can basically build your character a little bit more how you want to, like in D&D, as I see some people bringing up. You can go, a strength character or a charisma character or whatever, and you can build the character around that. And it's like it's gonna be a lot more limited in Pantheon, of course, but I would still like to see like the ability, like, if you mainly went on your paladin, mainly go like stamina and charisma, you can still do that. There's like maybe a different set of abilities, or maybe abilities get like boosted by one stat or another stat equally. Instead, because right now it's kind of like split, like some of those Dialord abilities that we saw were like split, like they get like 40% from this and 40% from that.
Right. Right.
It'd be much more interesting, I think, to see that, like, you can get 40% from this stat or from this stat, whatever's higher, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've sort of been fiddling around with that, right? Like they sort of been tinkering with that formula for a while, and Joppa's talked about that quite a bit. They want alternative stats to be meaningful and not just one or two and like a primary, secondary, tertiary kind of thing. They want to keep it interesting so that you have to make decisions.
Yeah. Decisions are key, because like right now, how I see it, it's nice to see the other stats mattering, because like, you guys were talking about earlier, most of the time if you're playing a mage or a wizard, or if you're playing a rogue, it's like you really only need one, maybe two stats that you actually care about, right? And you ignore everything else, and like as you're picking up gear and stuff, you're like, does it have these stats on it? No, then I don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
And we'll see less of that already, because we're already seeing that other stats kind of are going to matter quite a bit. To bring up Dark Ages of Camelot, something that I really liked in that game was how dexterity affected your casting speed. So if you were a caster, you did want your main casting stat, but you also wanted a lot of dexterity so you could cast faster. If you had maximum dexterity, you could actually cast like an entire like half second faster out of like a 3-second cast time, compared to the base. And that's good to see, but again, that just means that you're just going after 3 stats instead of 1 or 2 stats, and so ultimately it doesn't really change a whole lot.
Yeah. Yep. This is true, and it affects a lot of different things. Items, what you chase, what items you chase, and all that kind of stuff. So, very good points.
I secretly like Constitution as my secondary wizard stat.
Ah, that's interesting.
Hold on, I brought it up. I thought Constitution was going to affect
or whatever the hit point stat is.
Yeah. So for me,
Constitution's going to do Stamina's health, and Constitution's going to affect outgoing spell healing, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and see, for Ranger, I've always been agility on this, right? Dex and then agility, but I feel like I've maybe drifted away from that and gone towards strength as my secondary Ranger set in past, I guess, over the more recent years, but maybe that's learned behavior. I don't know. Learned my lessons. Can't dodge enough damage. Might as well try and kill them faster.
It's always about killing them faster, isn't that right, Draq?
Yeah.
Always.
Bigger
the
fireballs.
best healing is when the mob's dead.
Kill them before they kill you.
Damage prevention. Everybody will say damage prevention is the best healing. Well, what prevents the most damage? Killing the mob.
That's right.
Dead mobs 100%. Do no damage. I'm gonna make that into a shirt. That's my shirt.
That's a good one. Yeah, wow. You just pulled that out of your ass. That's awesome. I like that. Good stuff. Well, Fate, anything else you wanted to mention?
My 4th chapter of Tyrant Growfinder is coming out this weekend.
Oh,
so that's actually a new chapter. We've been putting the old chapters on the website, but the 4th chapter is coming out, and I have a 5th chapter like 80% done.
That's awesome.
So I just need to like take some time and sit down and get writing and possibly think about a 6th chapter and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So if you haven't checked it out, go to our website, pantheon.plus. You'll find Fate's fan fiction, Tyrant Growfinder, as she said. That is it's really good. We read a chapter on the Rewind in the lore section, and it's really, really good writing, and short and sweet too. Not super like overly lengthy. You're not going to sit there for an hour, trying to read a massive chapter of text. They're very digestible. So I really enjoyed it, and so looking forward to more. Definitely. All right. Well,
okay.
Fate, we will talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
See you later.
See you, Fate.
So I misspoke earlier, and I said that Fate was our last guest, but we actually have one more. We have Essen in the green room. So yeah,
buckle
apparently, buckle up is right.
We're going out with a bang.
It's gonna get mischievous. So let's see what mischief Essen has to bring. Essen, what are you up? What's going on? What mischief are you planning to bring to the show?
I have done nothing wrong yet.
Yet.
Be clear about that.
Yet.
Oh, well, I wanted to talk about my mistake because I hear so many people talking about in this session, which I didn't watch, but people kept talking about it, so I had to jump on and talk to you guys. They keep talking about how classes wouldn't be taken because they weren't good at anything, or they could be replaceable, and I like that. I like choosing the worst class. If you've been watching Lord of the Rings Online, our streams, you see that I picked the Lore Master, which is, by all measurements, a completely useless class.
And so, okay, but so in a group-centric game, how are you going to overcome being the least useful class?
The key to a bad class is being bad at 99% of things and extremely good at one narrow thing. So, like the Dire Lord, for example, is a great example of this because when it comes to tanking just normal mobs, they're going to be fine. Their armor is not as thick. They don't have a shield. Oh, it's Sarah on the pole. She is my fancy lass. Their armor is not as thick. They're going to take more damage. But when it comes to fighting casters, everyone knows when you come around the corner and there's a caster, it's like, okay, Dire Lord takes that one. And the idea that everyone is like knows that you're special for that one thing is really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So being a specialist is enticing to you. You want to be the specialist. You don't want to be the generalist.
If you look at nature, you want to be the generalist, right? You want to be like the red-tailed hawk will eat. It's got, the huge range from like Maine down to Florida, out to the west, like huge range. They'll eat anything, right? And they're fine in like any environment. If there's a city built, they'll be fine in the city, right? If the forest comes up, they're fine in the forest. Red-tailed hawks are generalists. They're fine whatever happens. But they're not very interesting, right? But look at like a chameleon. That is a weird animal.
Mm-hmm.
It's got mitten hands with surprisingly strong grip, by the way. If you ever felt one crawl in your hand, they grab you.
Yeah.
Its eyes rotate independently with tiny little eye little openings. Some of the Jacksons have horns. They got that crazy prehensile tail, and maybe you heard of their tongue. It's crazy, right? And they're specialists, which means if something changes in their environment, they are completely screwed. They are going to die.
Yeah.
The specialist is the chameleon, and the hawk is the generalist sparrow. Sorry, you're a bird too. But the chameleon is just like so much more interesting to me. Kyle.
Well, there you go.
I would argue, though, that by that argument, you don't want to be the Dire Lord when things change, which is often, though, right? So I would say the goal would be that you can tank any situation, right? If you're good, but you specialize in, you're really good, you excel at this other area, like for Dire Lord versus casters, right? Like groups aren't afraid to take a Dire Lord on as a tank for any content, but when it's versus casters, they want a Dire Lord.
Yeah.
If there ain't one available, they'll take a paladin or a warrior, right?
Well, what we're all afraid of, right, is EverQuest, right? Where you got into that situation that nobody wanted the hybrid tanks. Like, all they were good for was taking death touches. Like, but, like, I mean, it's been talked to ad nauseum, and, like, VR knows, right? Like, they have EverQuest devs on their team. So they know that was an issue, and they're not going to do that. All the 3 tanks are going to be useful and to some degree in tanking.
Yeah.
To some degree, you can't make every class exactly equal, right?
No.
But mechanic wise and numbers wise, it's impossible. And making that goal, we're like, oh, we're gonna make every tank equal, even though they're different. Like, good luck with that, brother.
Sit back.
But
and
like
relax.
Nathan said, it was
Time
like a glass
for
half full kind of way. It's they're not going to be they're everything. Everyone can tank, but these guys are going to specialize in this. Well, really, what that means is that they're not going to be good at everything else, as good as like a warrior is going to be with physical damage, or a paladin is going to be versus undead mobs.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
And it balances out though, right? Because as long as between the three, they're all got their specialization. Then what ends up happening is when you're really out in the group doing things, you're going to run into a mix of all three, right? Yeah. So it's like a balance there where it's like, well, sure, maybe we're gonna have to do a lot more heals and be a little bit more, careful when we're fighting magic when we get this warrior with us. But when we're fighting other mobs that are just more, melee attacking and stuff, the warrior will be a king, and so on and so forth. So I think that balances itself out as long as there's a good variety of mobs in all the locations, right?
That's what I was going to say too, Nathan, is that you can do it on two ends, right? You can change the classes around, or you just change the content that's out there, right? Make the content that's more applicable to a certain specialization of make more magic stuff, magic casters, put more content that's geared with the Dire Lord being important, right? So it's always, you can do it on both sides.
That changes two things that I haven't really seen in any other MMO. Is that you might choose if you're going to a dungeon, you might choose a different dungeon depending on what tank you have. Like if there's a more magic area, you would go take the dire. If you have a dire, you go to the more magic dungeon. If you have a warrior, you go to the more physical dungeon. And something I've never ever seen before for sure is this is really an incentive to take more than one tank. If you have a dire lord focusing in magical and a warrior, let's say, I don't know, focusing in physical, and you have both of them, you're going to be a really solid group.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That could be very interesting. And as you just said, never been done before in any other MMO ever.
No.
Nobody ever wants two tanks.
Raids. Besides raids, yeah. Besides raids.
Yeah. Besides raids. But no, like in a group. You never want two tanks, ever.
You don't want it. You sometimes end up with it and you're like, oh, there goes our DPS, Yeah, and I'll say something else.
In a hot moment, though.
Essen brought up a good point, which Joppa's talked a lot about too. Joppa's said, like, I don't want you all crowd into this one dungeon, right? If it's overfilled, or like you said, because we've got this tank, hey, how about we go to this area, because we can do really good here, which spreads out the player base, which makes people who just are in the group, right? They just got invited, now they're off to some dungeon they've never been, and they're finding new content. They're learning new things and new challenges for them. So that's another point of how the game is kind of leading you into new varied content and moving around the world.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, good stuff. I think I'm glad to see you brought it back to the game Essen instead of the nature explanations, because I was confused, and the poll was reflecting as much, saying what the hell is Essen talking about.
That's a win for me. That's a win.
Yeah, that's a win. I understand that. I get that. Anything else? Anything else on your mind?
I wanted to shout out a sports team, but I don't know any sports teams, so.
Oh, we can leave that for next time then.
Yeah, go Tigers.
Go team. All right, Essen. Well, good talking to you. We'll see you later.
One, man.
See you guys.
All right, boys. We are done. That is the show.
Woo. I feel like when they shortened the dev stream that people are more excited to talk here.
Yeah.
Like, look, I've got another half an hour. My babysitter is covering for another half an hour. Let's make use of this time, all right? So they keep us here.
Yes.
Yeah. That was fun though, you guys. That's really thanks for jumping in the green room, everybody. Really appreciate it. There's no show without you guys jumping in the green room.
It's gonna be a lot of really bad dad jokes if you guys don't fill up the green room. seriously. But yeah. All right.
So what's going on Saturday? Are we doing something? What's going on Saturday?
Mr. Nathan Napalm, what could you possibly have going on this week?
Well, let's see. I don't know. What do I have? Do I have anything exciting this week? We are doing P99 on Friday. Oh yeah, there's this little thing called Pantheon. We're going to. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that game. It's an upcoming indie MMO RPG. It looks really good, actually. It looks probably like the most promising RPG MMO that's even ever been developed. So we will be streaming it in pre-alpha if you want to come check it out. That'll be 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on all your favorite content creators' channels.
Would you say that Pantheon is a crowdfunded game, Nathan Napalm?
It is crowdfunded, and I'll tell you something. If you got some money in your bank account and you're not giving it to Visionary Rounds, then you're kind of saying I don't care about MMOs. I'm just saying.
The goblins get thrown down.
If you're feeding your kids and you're buying clothes for your family and putting a roof over your head, you're doing it wrong. You should be giving that money
extra.
Yikes.
I'm joking, of course.
Oh, you know what? It's all fun.
All right, Therek, what do you got going on?
Well, Desrin and I will be back this weekend for the Rewind. We are bi-weekly schedule now, and this is the week to do it. So we're going to be talking about this tonight. We're going to be sharing our thoughts and giving lots of feedback and discussion about that. We've got some more. We're going to share some more cards from our upcoming MMO draft at the end of the month. People have been submitting their cards for our NFL style draft, so I'm going to be sharing some more of those on the Rewind. You'll see them during the premiere. Yeah, it's fun. And then, of course, like Nathan said, Saturday we're streaming. Me and you, Draq, on the Pantheon Plus Twitch channel, me on the Pantheon Plus YouTube channel, and Desrin, of course, on his channel. So that's our little Pantheon Plus group doing some Pantheon streaming on Saturday. That's going to be super fun.
All the things. Yeah, the draft, the portion where you can create a draft card closes next week. So you need to get that done if you are planning to enter yourself into the draft and get yourself a magic card made. So it's super fun. We want everyone that wants to do it to participate for sure. And the community has been doing a great job and coming up with some people are doing themselves. Some people are just doing mischievous evil cards. I don't know if you've been paying attention to some of that, but some people are just putting ones that you may not want to draft in there. So somebody's getting stuck with some pretty awful cards.
Well, and Red said in chat, last draft Minus told him he wasn't real. We do have a not Minus card. I don't know who submitted it, but it's very, very mysterious.
A little sketchy there.
A little sketchy.
All right, everybody. Well, that's all for us now. We're going to run our outro video, and then let's see who we got to raid here. We have Level Up Larry. We're going to raid Level Up Larry. He's a Pantheon supporter. Looking forward to Pantheon. So make sure you give him some love.
Awesome.
Wave bye-bye to the people.
Good night, everyone. People. See you next time. See you Saturday.
Later. See you Saturday.